Good morning. I call to order the Planning Commission meeting of August 28, 2024 at 9 a.m. We are meeting in the San Mateo County Board Chambers as well as remotely via Zoom. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please proceed with roll call.
Commissioner Gupta is absent. Commissioner Hanson,
Here.
Commissioner Serrano Juan,
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Here.
Chair Ketchum.
Here.
Thank you, Chair. You have the floor.
We will now open public comment for items not on the regular agenda. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will first call upon members in chambers, followed by speakers on Zoom. For in-person comments, the speaker slips are located in the ante room. On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature or *9 if you are calling by phone. And we do not have any comments.
Thank you. We will now close public comment for items not on the regular agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we accept the consent agenda. Second.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Hanson and a second by Commissioner Serrano Juan. Commissioner Hanson,
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano Juan.
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Abstain. I wasn't here for that meeting.
Commissioner Chair Ketchum.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carried.
Thank you. We will now move on to the regular agenda. Madam Clerk, please introduce item 2.
Applicant is Planning and Building Department, file number PLN 2024-01189. And your project planner is Camille Kelly.
Speak.
There we go. Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. So this item is a little bit of housekeeping from Planning and Building Department. I'll present it. So it's a zoning, building and subdivision, regulation reorganization. It's long overdue. So, what the ordinance that is in the staff report and is being taken to the board would be repeal Division 6, 7, and also the subdivision regulations 6, and replace them with Title 8, Title 9, Title 10. And the ordinance would also amend Part 3 of the local coastal program implementation plan to update the ordinances listed in that part. So just a little bit of background. Prior to 1994, the ordinance kind of code looked like this. So it was 1 through 8, ending with natural resource protection. In the late 90s, the 1 through 5 were changed over to the website, Unicode website that manages the codes, allows the public to go and see what has changed over the years, and search directly on the website for different code sections. And along with that came a renumbering of the respective code sections. And what's left over is the zoning regulations. You can see here the subdivision regulations. They are maintained as separate documents apart from the regular ordinance code. So with each chapter that was updated, each regulation that was changed, we would have to go and update these documents and manually and place them on the website. The same thing with the building code. You can see it's just a PDF document that we keep on our website. So part of this is also to add back some sections that were missing from our code. They were not repealed, but they were kept out of some updates for the zoning code, which includes the topsoil regulations, surface mining, quarries, inspection fees, oil and gas wells, historic preservation, and regulation of timber harvesting. So these were all left out. They existed in some form. Sometimes we had some handouts, but some of them were just kind of missing. And so we want to make sure that we gather all of the code sections back into the ordinance. So you can see here what it looks like now online. So there's titles 1 through 7. And then what we are proposing now is Title 8 will be the zoning and development code, and you can see the different articles there. So we've kind of reorganized everything to make it easier to find what you're looking for. Different codes. So we have the zoning districts is a big one. Development procedures, general development standards, and then it goes through to trees and natural resource protection, soil preservation, special housing requirements and programs, which is and the zoning code administration. So that will be the zoning and development regulations. There we go. Then we have Title 9, which is the subdivision regulations and the building regulations. Well, be added to it. So what staff did is we research was conducted to determine what code sections were left out from the recent update to the zoning documents. We compiled all of our individual Word documents for different chapters, ensuring that we had the latest versions. And then we developed a numbering system that was consistent with what's on the meeting code website, and staff has updated all of our code sections to reflect this new format. And those are the attachments that are part of the staff report. Ordinances. And then this is the LCP implementation plan. So you can see it it mentions the ordinances that will be continue to be implemented as part of the LCP. And since these will no longer exist, we're going to update these different references to the code sections. So that's also part of the project. So the proposed update to the county code is necessary to ensure closing that all code sections are available to the public. Creates one cohesive document and a system, county ordinances. And future amendments to these ordinances will be captured quickly in a timely manner and easily referenced on the website for the public and staff. And the consistent reference numbers in reorganization of the different sections make it easier for the public to find as well. Those are some of the benefits of this project. So as far as the California Environmental Quality Act, the ordinance change is not a project under CEQA. We're not changing any of the code text. It's just a reorganization. So it's CEQA is not in this case. So to the recommendations, we recommend that the Planning Commission recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt the ordinance, renumbering the county's planning, building, and subdivision regulations, and amend Part 3 of the local coastal program implementation plan, and direct staff to submit the ordinance for coastal commission certification. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions for staff? Go ahead.
I understand it's just a reorganization, but is this also the time to remove specific male gender out of the?
Yes, well, we can definitely do that. We can add that to, if the planning commission recommends that, we can definitely add that to the scope of the project. We'll take it to the board. And ensure that, all those, this gender, the gender language is changed.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Hanson. I think this is definitely an appropriate time to do that. We consider that just to be a correction of not a typo, but just updating the regulations in a manner that doesn't change its substance. And we're trying to stay focused on just keeping it non-substantive, because when we submit it to the Coastal Commission, our expectation is they will process it as what they call a de minimis amendment, which is basically it goes on their consent calendar. It's not a big hearing item. They just need to confirm that in the process of reorganization, we haven't lost an important piece of our local coastal program, and that it's accurate statement that we haven't changed the substance of it. And I feel that removing gender specific references is within that scope of non-substantive changes. I'd also like to thank Kanoa for his work on this. This has been, excuse me, a long time coming, and it's been hard to find the time to get to it. So Kanoa's really stepped up. So thanks, Kanoa.
I do have a question. Referenced, the general public has, better access or easy access to the zoning and information. How does the general public get this information? Unicode, how does that work?
So it's just it's a public website right now. It's on, the county council's website. So our ordinance code, and I believe we recently added a link on the planning, website to those regulations. And because we do reference them from time to time. And so, so right now there's links on our website to the code. Once the zoning and building, and subdivision codes are updated and placed on there, all of our links and references to those sections all over our website will be updated to point people to that mini code website.
Yeah, and I can expand on that a bit. As Kanoa mentioned, currently on the planning and building website, we have links to all the applicable regulations. But when you go to the Muni code on the county attorney's site and you look at the entire county code, you don't see planning and building regulations. And we feel like that has been a hole in terms of providing the public with the complete county code on the county attorney's website. So we will update the current links we have on our website to point to the Muni code. And for those members of the public who are just inclined to go to the county attorney's website to look at the entirety of the county code, they'll now see the planning and building regulations, which have been missing from that.
I don't have any comments to add to this at the moment.
Well, I assumed there wouldn't be, strictly would be no changes to the text, but given the, this idea about her, would this be the time to go for consistency in, for example, your title? Like, this came up recently because keep changing your title.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe there are others as well.
Not by my choice, so.
I understand.
But I do think those sorts of corrections are appropriate to include in this packet. We haven't gone through all the regulations and found all the references to him or he that we want to replace. I think our approach with that will just be to use the title of the position rather than a gender. In referencing that, we will be correcting cross references that are inaccurate. And I think correcting titles also falls within that. So between now and when this package is brought to the Board of Supervisors, we are going to have to identify each specific section where those changes need to be made, and that is our intent.
All right, so that understood, that doesn't need to be included in our motion today, that much detail.
No, I think the staff recommendation today to you is that in addition to these organizational changes, we make corrections to genders, citations, and titles. And with your support, we will include the specifics of those changes in the packet to the board.
Sounds good. We will now open public comment for item 2. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And at this time, we have nobody in chambers and there are no virtual hands raised.
Thank you. We will now close public comment for item 2. Any further questions, or do we have a motion?
The comment I just wanted to make in general is that I'm very much always in favor of making things easier so that the public can have access to the information. And from my experience of dealing with my customers, it's always difficult for people to access that information. They're always frustrated that they don't know where to go. So anything that makes things easier for the public to access, I'm all for that.
Me too.
That's I'll make the motion. Can you bring up? I move that the planning commission recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt the ordinance renumbering the county's planning, building, and subdivision regulations and amending Part 3 of the local coastal program implementation plan and direct staff to submit the ordinance for coastal commission certification. And then what do we want to add also?
I would suggest that the motion include not only renumbering the county's planning, building, and subdivision regulations, but also replacing gender-specific references with titles and correcting citations and titles.
Okay, so that's the motion that I recommend.
I'll second that.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Ramirez and a second by Commissioner Hanson. Commissioner Hanson,
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano Juan,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Aye.
Chair Ketchum.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now close item 2 and move on to items 3 through 5 from the director.
Yes, thank you, Chair Ketchum, and thank you all for attending what's going to be a short meeting today. This has been an important effort that we wanted to see through, and so really appreciate you coming in for this item. With regard to our next meeting, we are not recommending the study session. We plan on bringing the proposed update, final version of the proposed update to the tree regulations to you. And anticipate that that will be a well-attended hearing. So at this point, Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the only item on the September 10th, September 11th agenda.
There are 2 other items, one on consent,
Okay,
and there is another one from Angela Chavez.
okay. I think those are relatively minor, but we should have a full meeting. I also, moving on to the director's report, wanted to let you know about some items going to the Board of Supervisors on September 10th. We've got the Baggerman appeal. You might recall that this was a new home, I believe in the Palomar Park area, where there was a dispute about use of an easement and the construction of a retaining wall. So the Planning Commission's approval of that project has been appealed to the Board of Supervisors. And then the other item of interest is we are proposing to update our planning permit fees as well as the fire review fees. It's been since 2004 that we've updated our fees. And the intent is not only to bring them up to current rates, the current costs of doing business, but also we are initiating an upgrade to our Excel online portal for applying for permits. The commissioners may recall that we have already enabled online application for building permits. Also, any type of building permit you might need to apply for, you can do so online. We now want to undertake that effort for planning permits. And as part of that effort, we are doing our best to make sure that the cost of the permits are clear, consistently implemented, and done so through automation. So we minimize the potential for human error. So the fee update is important to the department, not only to recover the costs of doing business, but ensuring effective implementation of our online permitting system. There's a range of changes being made. In many instances, fees are going up. In quite a few instances, fees are going down or being eliminated. So we've taken a very careful look at the actual cost of providing the services that we provide, and we've compared our proposed fees to surrounding jurisdictions to make sure that we're not an outlier in terms of what it costs to obtain permits from the county. And I want to thank the team that's been working on this. It's been a heavy lift. It's been something that's required very careful consideration. And I think we've arrived at the right spot to move this forward. So if you have any questions about that, be happy to answer it. Then
Actually, I
go ahead.
do have a question
Sure.
about that. So how do you go about determining and who are the people who participate on figuring out what those changes should be?
Sure. It was an internal team consisting of our administrative services manager who, handles our budget and finances, a few senior planners who are, the most familiar with what's required to process a permit. It included the project manager of our Excel upgrade effort to make sure that the automation I was speaking of is done accurately. It included a member of the county attorney's office to make sure that we stayed within the bounds of the law, which prohibit us from charging fees beyond what is required to provide the service, and included myself to make sure that from a department standpoint, that the proposed project is moving in the right direction. It did not, if you're asking, include individuals from the outside development community. I'm sure that they'll have an interest and a stake in it, but in terms of calculating what those fees should be, that was an internal exercise that we completed.
Okay. Well, thanks. At least try to understand.
Absolutely.
What about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I anticipate that the development community will have interest in this, and to the degree they've got questions or concerns about it, we will certainly do our best to respond appropriately.
All right. Thank you.
The one other thing I wanted to update you on the status of the housing element. I was optimistic that our second submittal would be accepted by the state. Unfortunately, it was not. We received a letter in response that identified some additional analysis and revisions that the state would like to see. We are working hand in hand with housing and community development staff to make sure that the changes and additional analysis we provide will be satisfactory. And so we have already had 2 working meetings with them. to review their comments and to agree upon an approach that will meet their expectations. And so, of course, that is very high priority for the department, getting this completed. And we will be back in front of you as soon as we can with the update to the element, in hopes that the third time will be the charm. And that concludes my report for today.
Any questions, comments from commissioners? I have something.
Please.
I wonder if you could just briefly outline the process for the permitting or whatever. This is about the National Park Service preparing a management plan for Rancho Corral de Tierra. And since it's a federal agency, could you explain how this will work, as far as the community perception and involvement?
Certainly. So the federal government is generally exempt from obtaining state or local approvals for federal projects. However, the Federal Coastal Zone Management Act requires that federal agencies undertaking projects within the coastal zone consult with the state's coastal management entity, which in our case is the California Coastal Commission. So my expectation is that the GGNRA will need to submit the plan to the Coastal Commission for a determination of consistency with the state's coastal management plan. And that the state's coastal management plan consists of both the Coastal Act as well as the county's local coastal program. So the Coastal Commission will be in a position to ensure that what the GGNRA proposes complies to the best of its ability with the Coastal Act and with the county's local coastal program. The county, of course, has an interest in the outcomes of this plan. And so we will be following this planning process and commenting as needed to ensure that county interests are protected, and look forward to those conversations. That's essentially the process that will be followed. And there'll be a full range of issues. I know that equestrian use of the park is a historical use that many users want to protect. I also know that there's a lot of sensitive habitat for rare and endangered species on the park that need to be protected. So there'll be a balance between recreational uses and habitat protection. There's the equestrian facilities themselves and what is their future, and what are the facilities needed. Are they going to be expanded? Are they going to be reduced? Those are, I think, all issues that are likely to come up in the planning process, and one that will be subject to the federal consistency review that I mentioned.
So the actual hearing at the Coastal Commission would be the final step, but before that, you speak of the county. How would you participate in the planning process as far as, where they're at and submitting your comments to them and maybe working things?
Yeah, I think the county will be just like any other stakeholder with interest in the project. So, I expect that the GGNRA will provide an opportunity for stakeholders to comment on the draft plan, to participate in whatever hearings they might hold in terms of adopting the plan. I don't have a clear picture on the specific steps they'll be following to solicit input, but it's something that I'll be keeping an eye out for.
Great, thank you.
Well,
There's nothing else. We are adjourned.
thank you.